G'day, Mr. Fitz here. Hope you're going well. In this video, we are going to look at the basics of SolidWorks CAD software. The first video was an introduction into CAD and why it's important for us to learn how to use it. Now we're going to start to actually use it. So we're going to look at the file structure, the interface, in other words, how it looks and how you operate the program, navigation around rotating and using your model, and the basic workflow. This is really important. We'll keep going back to this workflow. Once you got your head around that, you will become a master at this software and be a very good user. The basic structure within SolidWorks is using a part. So this is just like building or designing, let's say, a product that has more than one part. A part file allows you to create a basic model, so basic geometry. This file can then be brought into an assembly. So an assembly is essentially like a whole product or a sub-assembly where you put together your parts. And then finally, the third type of file we can use in SolidWorks is a drawing. So this is like a technical drawing in 2 dimensions, and you can create a drawing of an assembly or a part file. So you must create these 2 first, or one of each, before you can create a drawing. Let's fire up the software. So click on the icon, take you to SolidWorks, and this should be your home screen. So these are the 3 files we can generate: part, assembly, drawing. We start with the part file. You can also open an existing file. This shows you ones you've recently worked on and some folders as well. So let's create a part. Click on part. This software itself is quite intensive on a computer to use. You need a pretty fast computer, so it can be slow at times. Our school computers are pretty crash hot, so hopefully that's nice and fast for you. All right, so this is the software. This is the main screen that you will see. In the center is your modeling region. So this is where your design takes shape. By default, each part file will have a series of planes. So top, front, and right planes. And these are basically just flat reference planes that go off into infinity. The bottom left of the screen here, you've got a little X, Y, and Z icon. This just gives you a bit of an indication. This is just like your maths. So obviously in 2 dimensions, we've got an X and a Y plane. Z is our 3rd dimensional plane. You can click on this little thing here and it will rotate the view to see those planes. So you click on the X plane, Y plane, Z plane, and you can see that you can sort of rotate so you're looking straight at those planes. Those planes are visible here in this part of the viewing screen, and this is called, for want of a better word, a feature tree. So the main thing initially to get your head around is these 3 planes. By default, you've got the origin. This is like our 0, 0, 0, which is right in the center of our planes. And from here on, whenever we start building things in our model, it will put those there as like a history of our model. Whatever comes into here is generally editable. So we will go back in at times and we'll make changes to our designs as we go. Across the top here is what's called our ribbons. So these are all parts of the software. And the most important ones you'll want to become familiar with are the features and the sketch toolbar. So you can click and toggle between those 2. And we're going to start with these ones. Across the top, you've got your normal file. Here you can save. So highly recommend the first thing you should do when you build a new file is to save it straight away. That will take you to your computer. And I suggest either utilizing your H drive at school or saving things onto a USB. Try and avoid saving onto the desktop or onto the documents of your computer because they will live on that machine and you won't be able to access them in other parts of the school. You've got other things: edit, view, insert, so different ways you can navigate in the software, but primarily you'll be using these feature ribbons. Across the top here, you've got a series of what's called head-up display icons. You can quickly change views. There's things in here that will change the shading of your model. So shading, you can change the view as well. There's all kinds of things here. So we'll go through those eventually. Down the side here, this is what's called a sketch toolbar. So every now and then there might be some toolbars that live around the outside, and we may use those as shortcuts. Now, quickly, a few things to navigate in your model view here. On your mouse, if you see my screen here, you've got a middle scroller, this little mouse roller thing in the middle. Now this here can, on most mouses, can be pressed as well. So when you press that in, it's called the middle mouse button. If you press it and hold it whilst your cursor is in the middle of the screen, so click and hold. If you move the mouse now, it rotates the model in 3 dimensions. So you can see my planes are spinning around. So this is called an orbit or a rotate view. So you'll use that a lot just to click and move and see the thing you're designing. That same little mouse wheel, if you scroll that up and down, it navigates to where your mouse icon is. So if I put my cursor in the middle and I roll backwards, I will zoom into the center. In reverse, if I scroll away from myself, I will zoom out. Now, at any time if you get lost and you're off and your model's out of the screen, this one's a good little icon. So it says zoom to fit, which is also F on your keyboard, and it brings everything back into your screen. So a few things again to remember navigating. These planes here you can click on will rotate the view to look down on those planes. Zoom to fit and middle mouse button hold and move the mouse and you can spin your model around. So very useful for navigating. Okay, what else should we look at? So the next thing to start a model is really important for us to look at the model workflow. If we can master the understanding of the top section of this, let's excluding these ones under the line here, these are some advanced features, you'll become a master at CAD. Now, this little tree is a good thing to understand from the sense of the workflow. So we begin every design with a sketch. A sketch is a 2D drawing. We can draw on a face or a plane, and it must be a closed loop. From here, we can build solids. So these two features here are our primary solids. So you turn a 2D sketch into a 3D model. These features here allow us to cut and remove material from those solids. We can use these multiple times in our model to keep building more solids or cutting away from them. Then these features in this box allow us to modify the solid. So we can round corners, we can change the side angles, we can hollow the part, and we can also duplicate and move things. So this is kind of like a hierarchy. So these features will depend on having these in your model, and you cannot have a solid in your model without some sketches or a sketch. So we're going to learn this software beginning with a sketch and building solids and going from then onwards. We'll come back to this model in the future videos. And as I said, if you can master how this functions based on this to this to this, you'll become a master of the software and design some cool stuff. So in summary of our video, you've learned the file structure. Remember part assembly drawing. We're going to learn how to model parts primarily in the start. User interface, so those little areas on the screen and how to navigate. The basic workflow, and don't forget, save your work. Really important. You do that every time you build a model because you could lose your work and lots of pain may ensue. Good luck with your design work and your learning, and I'll see you in the next video.